When we meet brilliant minds, we like to get to know all about their innovations. And today we are going to be talking a little bit about the Usalama app, which is an app that connects users to emergency services through your phone. So I do have the brains behind the app here in studio, and we're going to get to know about how it is that they developed the app. I'll have you guys introduce yourself. We'll start with you, Edwin.
My name is Edwin. I'm the co-founder of Usalama.
Okay, welcome.
My name is Marvin. I'm also the co-founder of Usalama.
Okay, so maybe we can start with a little history about how you guys got together, when you formed this, and why.
Okay.
So basically we met in university, Strathmore University. We studied Bachelor of Informatics and Computer Science there. And in second year, it's when I had an incident where I was mugged around the campus. And I realized that there was no quick way of getting emergency services that has been developed. So my colleagues and I came together and created the Usalama app so that we can quickly link victims of emergencies to service providers. So under service providers, we are mainly targeting crime, gender violence, medical emergencies, and roadside rescue.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it came from a personal experience that
Exactly.
you had while on campus. And how did the two of you link up?
So we were classmates and housemates, so that's whereby our entrepreneurial journey began. So after Edwin had this incident, we came together and we decided to come up with the Usalama application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just talking to the average Kenyan, most people don't have the basic knowledge of emergency services. Which number am I supposed to call if I have a fire, if I have, you know, a medical emergency? But we're not very aware. So that gap definitely is there. But who were you targeting when you're developing this app? Who was your target audience?
Basically, it was the broad range of Kenyans who have smartphones. In that we saw an opportunity whereby in Kenya there's around 60% smartphone penetration. So we saw we can create the first African digitized 911 system that is end-to-end, whereby the app is just part of the platform. We have two other components, an emergency dispatch center and an agent app, so that from the time you trigger distress, it should take under 12 seconds for your distress to get to the nearest agent. The nearest agent can be the nearest ambulance driver, the nearest, in case of a crime, the nearest security personnel, and the likes. So
Yeah.
that was the entire goal.
Why is it, do you think, that we don't have that service as a basic service as a tax-paying Kenyan? Why is it that I can't access those emergency services if I have an emergency?
I believe because the services do exist, but people do not know, and also people do not trust the system that is in place. For example, if I tell you to call the 911, you'll be very skeptical about calling because will they pick up or will they come? So there's that mentality that people have.
Yeah,
so
we hear of people who've had you know, fires and things like that, and it takes hours for the emergency services to get there. So you're right. People don't trust.
And also on another issue was that the blame can also, part of the cause of the problem is also emergency service providers waste a lot of time and resources while trying to locate the victims. For example, right now, if you call like St. John's ambulance, you'll have to start explaining using landmarks where you are. But with our app, we're able to get your GPS coordinates and send that to them. And to add on that, we update your service provider every 5 minutes with your most up-to-date location. For example, it's a kidnapping, you know, your location is changing, so we do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, in which areas does your app cover right now? I mean, I'm assuming Nairobi, but
yeah.
rest of Kenya?
Basically, our range is dependent on the range of our emergency service providers. So, for example, on board we have the likes of St. John's Ambulance. We have also Amref Kenya. So those are providers that cover basically the whole of Kenya. However, we also have private companies. These are security firms that have signed up on our platform. So those ones are will only help you when you're within the range of covering. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I wanted to talk about the providers that you do have on board for your app. There's a fee involved if a provider wants to sign up with you. What are some of the benefits, you know, of if I'm a hospital or an emergency service and want to sign up with your app?
So if you sign up with the, we offer a subscription model whereby we charge our emergency service provider a monthly fee depending on the number of clients they want to connect it to them. So some of the features that we've given to these emergency service providers is, as they had said, an online dispatch center, whereby they're able to record every distress call raised, they're able to track every distress, and they also, we've added a data analytics platform which is able to analyze each data, each distress call raised, so which when it accumulates, you're able to come up with conclusive results. For example, you can able to know where are the most distress calls raised, where are the most emergencies happening. So that is what the value-added service that we give to the emergency service provider. And to the end user, we give them a direct point of contact to an emergency service provider. So at the tap of a button, you get help. So minimal action is required to send quality and detailed information, which can sometimes be the difference between life and death.
Exactly, yeah. And just to add on what you said, I mean, the data that Usalama is able to collect, especially on crime, can also be used to mitigate cases of crime. For example, if you have Usalama app and you walk into an area, maybe there was a mugging just like 2 weeks ago, Usalama will be able to alert your phone. You are just send a notification telling you, be careful in this area, and there was an incident here, or use another route. And also we are also working on a station whereby Usalama will also give you alternative safer routes that you can use to get to your destination. So I mean, the potential here is great in terms of what we can do with the data we are collecting.
Yeah, I understand it's free for me as a user to sign up with Usalama and get these services.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think one thing that people watching are so concerned about, and I'm going to come back to this because I know we talked about it just briefly, but what is the average amount of time that it's going to take that emergency vehicle to get to me? Do you have statistics on that? Or?
Yeah, exactly. So on average, it should take them for them to physically come to where you are 4 to 5 minutes, but for them to receive your distress through the platform is under 12 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 4 to 5 minutes because the human element where they have to physically come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why our platform we believe is superior is in the sense that we get to the nearest agent of the service provider. So you don't just get, if you're in Kilelesho, you get someone who is around that place.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to go step by step so you can show us how it works. I understand this is only available on Android?
Yes.
Okay, are you working on having
developing,
it for Apple as well?
Yeah, soon we'll be launching the iOS version, so the next maybe one and a half months the iOS version will be live. Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's go through it. I want to understand how it works. So I have an emergency. I think you're going to open up the app on one of these phones so we can take a look. They said within 12 seconds the dispatch center should be able to be notified of your emergency. Can we get a close-up?
Just a moment.
Okay.
All right.
Is that visible?
Is that, yeah, just getting a close-up of that. Okay, go ahead and
Okay,
walk
fine.
us through it.
So basically, this is the main app. It's as simple as possible. And you can see we have 6 grids. 3 of them are on crime, 1 of them is on gender violence, 1 of them is on medical emergencies, and the other one is on roadside rescue. So when you install the app for the first time, you will be directed to under emergency providers, where you can link to the various emergency service providers that we have on Usalama. So that should open the list of emergency providers.
Slowly.
Okay, sorry, saying no internet. Let me just reopen it again. So it should open the list of emergency providers where you can link to them.
Okay, perhaps you can just take us to the other interface.
So once you link the logo of the emergency service provider, it will appear here. For example, I'm linked now to GVRC. Yeah. So now another thing you'll do, you'll also put your 4 emergency contacts. You can put you can put a maximum of 3 emergency contacts. So from here, you just tap here, you choose from your phone book, and then it will appear as an emergency contact. So
now
this
what
one,
does that do?
So those emergency contacts will also be alerted other than the emergency service providers when you're in distress.
Okay.
So this can be your family and friends. And then now afterwards, how do you trigger distress? You simply tap on the emergency button. So for example, let me trigger like a gender. So when you trigger that, it will have a 7-second timer where you can cancel the distress if you've triggered it by mistake, or add more information on the emergency service, on your distress. So by pressing add, that should add more information on that distress.
Okay.
So
so that is transferred to the dispatch center.
Yeah, so this is transferred to the dispatch center, whereby now the emergency service provider will see your details, including your name, your biodata, and all that. And from there, if they press, they can choose whether they want to respond or whether they don't want to respond. If they say they're responding, you get the feedback.
So what happens if they don't want to respond, and why would they not want to respond?
There could be various reasons. One of them, it could be maybe at that time their resources are too, maybe they're responding to so many emergencies and their resources are too stretched out.
Okay.
Yeah. Another reason could be maybe you've triggered the distress in an area where they do not cover.
Okay.
But on the side of the dispatch center, if they reject a distress, we have given them a provision to provide a reason why they're not responding to the distress.
Okay.
Yeah. So you as the user, you always in the loop of, you get feedback. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So they get the distress call.
Yeah.
They say, I'm going to accept it.
Yes.
Do they then call the person to find out more details, or what happens then?
No. Usalama is structured in such a way that when creating the platform, we created it in conjunction with some of the emergency service providers. So we asked them, what details do you normally require from the user when they call for an emergency? So one of them, for example, a medical emergency, one of the details they need is like your gender. They also need your age, of course your location, and the nature of the emergency. Yeah. So on discovering that, we integrated that in the app, whereby when you install the app, you provide that information, so that when you trigger the distress,
it's automatically sent.
So they don't have to contact you again.
Okay.
So it's only in rare cases where, for example, they may feel they really need to contact you, so then they'll contact you again. But that is just one way of triggering the distress. On Usalama, you can also long press volume down on your phone. This is regardless whether the screen is locked or unlocked, or whether the app is running or not running. If you long press volume down for a period of 4 seconds, the app will feel your phone vibrate and the app will send a distress. And in that case, if you trigger an emergency with the volume down button, because you have not specified the nature of the emergency, we have to default it to pick it as a crime emergency, because we of all the emergencies that we deal with, crime is the one that you won't have a lot of time.
Right.
Yeah.
The volume down thing that activates Usalama, is that a feature I have to accept or allow my phone to do? Because I could be taking a screenshot or
exactly. So you can, it's a setting, you can turn it on and off. That's just one of them. You also have another shortcut of shaking your phone. If you shake your phone, the app opens, and then you can now tap on the distress. I
want to go through again. You said gender violence, crime. What were the other?
Medical emergencies.
Medical emergencies.
And roadside rescue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roadside rescue. What are we talking? Like who's coming?
Yeah. So roadside rescue. These are now companies who do the towing. If your car maybe even if you have a puncture. Yeah. And maybe you don't know how, they can also help on that. Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of police forces, those are not a part of this app. Like if I have a crime emergency, who am I expecting to come?
So as of now, we are mainly working with security firms who have direct connection with the police. Okay. So we decided to start with the private sector and humanitarian organization first, and then once we have grown to much traction, we can bring on board emergency services of the government and county governments. So right now, if your security firm responds, they will come with the police.
I see.
Yeah.
What have been some of the challenges of launching this app with the infrastructure that we have in this country? Some challenges, obviously, like we were talking about location, and you know, you have the GPS feature for that. But what have been some of the other challenges that you've faced with developing this app?
I think one of the biggest challenges, especially during starting the company, one of our biggest challenges had been capital, especially to be able to do what we had to do, to achieve what we want to achieve. But to mitigate that, we decided to do bootstrapping type of business. So we had previous background is in computer science and development, so we had the knowledge to develop softwares, which we now sell to so we'll sell to schools and also individuals. This enabled us to raise enough capital to be able to run the business. And another challenge had been bringing on the emergency service providers. Had been a challenge, but at least we were able to, through we were able to apply some competitions, so which enabled us to get traction. So we were able to feature on articles such as CNN, The Guardian, Business Insider. So once the emergency service providers saw this, they saw that we're actually doing something, we're actually making a difference. So it now gives them more confidence in us when they approached us and they told, guys, we want to join you and we want to work with you guys.
You were shortlisted to represent Kenya at the Royal Academy African Prize for Engineering and Innovation.
Yes.
How was that experience?
What
was it like learning that, you know, my app is being recognized on a much bigger platform?
So that was actually our first competition that we ever applied to. So Edwin was the one who got to represent us, and it was an eye-opening experience for us, and also helped us. It really helped spread the Usalama name. So I remember we had just launched in November 2016. Edwin got featured, and in 1 month we had over 2,000 downloads. So the amount of traction, the amount of media coverage we got really helped us, and we also gained a lot of knowledge. So the first version of Usalama, when we launched, we hadn't developed a proper business model. So Usalama will just basically connect you to your family and friends. But then after the Royal Innovation, we were able to now see that we can actually target these emergency service providers and actually develop our business from this. And so it was really helpful for us.
Kenya right now is I think, existing in a very tech-rich space. So there's a lot of innovators. There's a lot of people making apps. There's a lot of young people such as yourselves, doing amazing things. But it's also hard to stand out and say my app is different from this one, and this is why. You should believe it me. So what has been that one factor that you think makes you stand out from the rest?
Okay, I think one of the main factors for us as entrepreneurs is we have a code whereby we always hold ourselves to the high standard when developing our app, in that we use the best design principles. We use we try to always produce the best user interface that we can create. And also another thing that we always try to do is to involve our user during the development of when you're adding new features and improving the app. In that, for example, we will just call people who have downloaded Usalama, we just call them maybe for a pizza. We just talk on how we can improve this app. They tell us we can do this and that and that, and that has really been helpful for us. Isn't just from the minimal budget that we had, we believed in involving the user from the first day we launched the app to even to now. Yeah. So
understanding their experience and knowing how you can innovate even further. For providers, what happens in the case of false alarms? Because I'm sure that is bound to happen or has happened at some point. They've sent all of their medical emergency services out there and they find not quite an emergency. What happens then? So
with Usalama, we have created, first of all, various steps that can help mitigate you from accidentally triggering a false distress. That's the first step we have done. So for example, when you trigger the distress, it does not go immediately. You have an option to cancel it. Secondly, after you trigger a distress, say it has already gone, we have an option still in the home screen where you can cancel the distress. And so long as a distress has gone, on the notification bar of your phone, where you pull down, that place where you pull down, there'll always be a notification or some notification telling you have triggered a distress and giving an option to cancel it. So we are provided for that. Now, if the distress has gone and the emergency service provider have received it and have deployed their resources to you, in that case, if it was intentional by mistake, then we allow the user at least 3 more opportunities, because
before you block them.
So the emergency service provider are at the discretion, not us. It's the service provider. So from their end, if you are misusing the platform, they can be able to deactivate your connection to them, not from the app, but your connection to them. But then you get a notification, so they can like put you on probation for like 2 months or something like that.
I see.
Yeah.
How many users do you have currently?
So far we have over 5,000 downloads on the Google Play Store. And we have over 7 emergency service providers on board the platform, and we are still growing. So yeah, that's our traction so far. Yeah,
to add on that, on the emergency providers, right now we're also doing something with universities. We started this with Strathmore University, where we schooled, whereby also the universities normally have emergency response teams.
Yeah.
So we have also seen in such a way that the students of the university, when they download the app, they can have an option where they can link to their university emergency response team. So we have that with Strathmore, whereby if you're a student of Strathmore and you're within Strathmore or a radius of around between 1 kilometer and 500 meters around Strathmore, if you're in an emergency and you trigger the distress, Strathmore will send someone to respond to you. So if this works with Strathmore, we hope to try with other universities.
Other universities.
Exactly.
And yeah, again, the issue of coverage, I'm sure there are people watching from all different counties in Kenya and hoping that this type of technology will be able to reach them at some point. But you said this is dependent upon the reach and of the providers that you currently have.
Yes.
What does the future look for Usalama app in your most idyllic sense?
In an idyllic sense, so how Usalama would work. So what we'll target is, as he had said, we're targeting starting from the institution level. So an idea set is someone in university will have Usalama. Once they graduate from university, they go to JEB, they'll also have Usalama because they'll need to access health insurance, they'll need to access security services. And also for their parents will be able to, in case they're at home and they're not around, they can be able to, in case something happens, they can be able to call for help just at the tap of a button. So the future for Usalama is like a three-generation line of family is using Usalama. So that's our future for Usalama. That's our vision for Usalama.
Yeah, and for us, we want to revolutionize how people access emergency services. We want to make it as simple as possible, and our goal is also to bring government services on this platform, to also have a future where you can also buy your insurance through Usalama. For example, you can get like a premium fee where if you trigger the distress, you have someone, I can say a butler for your emergency, just calling to make sure the emergency service providers responded. If you go to hospital, how you're doing and all that.
Yeah.
So that is the future for us.
All right. Finally, perhaps we can end on a note of, if you're a provider watching or a user, how they can get in touch with you and get the app.
Okay, I'll talk about the user. If you're a user, you can just go to Play Store, search Usalama app. You'll see an app with a blue icon, install it. So that's how you get the app.
And if you're an emergency service provider, you can go to www.usalamatechnology.com, and we have a place called Usalama platform, and you can sign Usalama provider, whereby now you can sign up as an emergency service provider, and we as the Usalama team will now come to...
You said usalamatechnology.com. Emergency service provider. Well, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think all of us want to be safe in our day-to-day lives, and hopefully, as you said, you will revolutionize how it is that we interact with our emergency services. Thank you both for being here. Check out the Usalama app and give them feedback. As they said, they're looking for